Hey guys, so can you make a full-time income with a small accounting business? So my name is Bryce and I got started with my accounting and bookkeeping firm back in 2015. Now it took me about 16 months to get to like $17,000 a month in sales for bookkeeping, CFO, and accounting services. So this YouTube channel will basically break down, how to really get started so that you don't have to take 16 months to go and reach your financial goals like I did. So also we've helped about 375 accountants and bookkeepers inside our mentorship program go and reach their goals. So a lot of the stuff inside this video could be very helpful for you because this is like derivatives of what we teach our mentorship students inside of our mentorship program. Also, if you ever want any help growing your accounting firm, maybe you're thinking about getting started, or maybe you've been starting for a while, it's just not quite going the way that you want. Either way, click the link inside the description, either above or below the video, to book a call with myself to see if I can help you inside of our mentorship program, okay? So number one, the short answer is, can you make a full-time income with an accounting firm? Is yes. The trick is going to be how do you actually want to make that income? Are you a person that likes having a stable paycheck every single month? Are you a person where you like having large cash inflows come in, but maybe they're not as frequent? So I'll give you an example. So there are different types of services that you can do, right? You can offer tax prep, tax planning, CFO services, monthly accounting services / monthly bookkeeping services, as well as CFO services. Now, those are the 5 main services that most people do. Now, number one, I don't really like doing tax returns, whether it's personal or business returns, for my primary income. Now, if I have other income streams or income sources, or if I'm doing some tax planning, then we do not mind doing tax prep as well. But I don't just want to, especially for individuals, right? You might get $250 for federal, $50 for state. I mean, $300, it is going to be a volume game. And in a lot of cases, it's really going to be about 2 times a year that you can really make some good income. Maybe have a couple back taxes from individuals, but it's just not really that great of a way to go. Really, for me, whenever I'm thinking about getting paid from something, for me, it's not really worth it if it's less than about $3,000, right? Really, ideally be about 5 is minimum, but $3,000 for a beginner is kind of that price point that you should aim for. Because then, let's say if you're getting about $3,000 on average, right, you're really only about 30 clients away from six figures a year. So just kind of be aware of that. But number one, okay, so I don't really like tax prep as a primary income source. I do, however, like tax planning. Now, usually for tax planning, it's going to be about $5,000 to about $20,000, what you can kind of expect. The average would be about $5,000 to $10,000, depending on the size clients you're going after, and what is their specific tax situation. Just kind of be aware of that. The cool thing about tax planning is a lot of cases it's more based on your experience and your internal knowledge. It's not really based necessarily on labor. So you can have a lot more tax planning clients than what you could maybe have for bookkeeping clients, for example. Because in a lot of cases, let's say you have a very specific niche. So one of our students, Jake, so what he does is for his real estate agents, he actually just has a very, very simple plan. He just runs all of them through. Some of them need to be tweaked slightly, but for the most part, I think he had either 300 or 600 different tax planning clients in 1 year. He was doing really, really good money, right? And it's all because that service is stacked really well. Now, not every single person feels that confident in tax, and not every single person wants to have tax plan. I know a lot of older accountants generally tend to get scared about the liability that's involved. But there's different things and different schools of thoughts when it comes to that. Next service is gonna be your monthly accounting / monthly bookkeeping services. Actually going backwards. So just to kind of put this in perspective, with the tax planning, if you can sell something for $5,000 hits your bank account. Now you just made $5,000 a month. So Shantae, one of our students, had her first ever $5,000 a month just by selling a tax plan. One tax plan to one individual. He was doing about $400,000 a year take home before taxes. And yeah, it was a very simple sale. It was her first real sale because she used to do a lot of tax returns and stuff like that. But it was kind of frustrating because some years you get some tax returns, some years you don't get a lot of tax returns. You think people are going to come back to you, and they don't. You're waiting until kind of the last minute. But with this, it's just literally, she met the guy using one of our social media prospecting methodologies. From there, she messaged the guy, got him on a call. Within I think it's about 5 days of the initial meeting him, then he paid her the $5,000. So it doesn't take very long to have your income kind of spike like that. And for a lot of people, having an extra $5,000 in the bank is relatively powerful. It can be a really good boost to your savings. Cool. Next thing for monthly accounting services. Now, monthly accounting services, this is really good for stability. On average, clients will stay with you for about 7.5 years, kind of what the industry average is for accounting and bookkeeping clients. Now, this is a slightly more labor intensive. In a lot of cases, you can either have very, simplified bookkeeping or very complex monthly accounting. It just kind of depends on if you want to do all that work yourself, if you like doing that work yourself, or if you maybe want to bring on some staff accounts to do some of that work for you. It really just kind of depends on how you want to structure it. Now, usually the pricing for monthly bookkeeping, monthly accounting is between about $500 to about $5,000 per month. When you start getting to monthly accounting, instead of just bookkeeping, it's just more into like $5,000 a month to like $10,000 a month. So just kind of be aware. The largest monthly client that a student in our mentorship program ever got was about $36,000 a month, but that was more because it was like $1 billion company bought a local company in his area, and he was the only person who knew how to use like a very unique type of accounting system. So it's very, very specialized kind of like situation for that one, but usually about like $500 a month to about $10,000 a month is kind of what you can expect for those services. But again, there will be a little bit more labor intensive depending on like the complexity and just the volume of work, right? Oftentimes bookkeeping is going to be based on complexity and volume of work, and we have like very specific pricing calculators that shows you how to price out the books. Because with bookkeeping, it can be pretty lucrative to a certain degree, but it's very easy to underprice, and a lot of the potential clients don't really understand the value of what you're offering. So in a lot of cases, they're trying to like nickel and dime you on that. So you have to be able to really hold your value and really break down the price, right? So we can talk about that in other like videos, but I'm just giving you a list of the services so you have to understand like the best chance to make a full-time income. Next thing is gonna be compilations / cleanups. Generally for these can be anywhere between about $3,600 to about $100,000 for these cleanups. Now, cleanup projects can be a little bit interesting because they do offer you one of the largest ways to make money. They can be a little bit challenging to come by though, because not every single business is going to need a cleanup, right? A lot of them will if you're gonna do like the monthly accounting and bookkeeping. They really go well if you're mixing monthly accounting, monthly bookkeeping together, because usually if someone is looking for monthly bookkeeping and they've been around for X number of years, they probably haven't had their bookkeeping done correctly before. So that's going to lead you to an opportunity to be able to sell that service to them. So it's a really good kind of like way to kind of do it, and it's a very simple way to kind of grow your income. So I do like cleanups. We actually had a student the other day, her name was Melissa. She got a cleanup for about $50,000 on Tuesday night. So it's like, it can be very lucrative. That was her first ever client in business, was $50,000. Now, depending on what you're currently making at your job, $50,000 might not be enough for you to like leave your job, but for some people that can be half of your salary, or if you're making 80 grand a year, that's like a little bit over half of your yearly salary. And took her about a month of starting in our program to get that. So about a month in our program. Now, for her, she had started a business like 5 months prior, but she had never gotten a client until she joined our program. She joined the program. We basically show you guys how to go and get clients, price the client out, and even in some cases, if you don't know how to like find a good team, we can show you how to outsource the work so that you don't necessarily have to do all the work yourself. And it just makes it easier for you to grow your business in a much more consistent way. I mean, I personally didn't get, my first client was not $50,000. My first client was like, I did like $1,100 for a cleanup project, and like, most of that was like a 3-year cleanup, so I underpriced it. I didn't know what I was doing. But when you have someone guiding you and like kind of showing you what to do, it just makes your growth so much faster. So, hopefully that answers your question, like, can you make a full-time income? For some people, $50,000 is what they make in a full-time year. So just kind of depends on where you're coming from. Next thing is going to be CFO services. Now, CFO services generally in between about $3,000 to about $20,000. Now, the best CFO services I have seen, they actually turn out to be more like, I'm almost consider like a general manager kind of position, right? If you're just doing the finances, usually it's between like $3,000 to about $10,000. When you start adding in other departments as well, like let's say that like one of our students, he was doing $20K per month for some of his clients, and literally it was because he was doing the finance, but he was also managing their sales teams. He had like a background in sales and stuff, so he fully was able to kind of like help their team grow their sales department. So we got a piece of that. Another student that was charging about $15,000 a month for one of his clients, he was charging about $10K per month for the CFO, like the financial aspects, and he was charged about $5,000 a month for like HR. I think he was charging a little bit extra auxiliary, probably about $1,000 a month for like some like light administrative work. So altogether, I believe the client was either paying $15,000 or $16,000 a month, but that guy was doing that for about two years. But he was basically, the guy's name was Mike. Mike was basically managing the company. The CFO was like growing, but he was doing everything. He was hiring the people, he was managing the finances, doing some light administrative work. So it's like that. Really, if you want to get above 10 grand a month, you have to be adding in auxiliary services that the business owner needs that makes you like indispensable from the business. So you can make a pretty good amount of money from that. So with that one client, his $15,000 per month client, that's a full-time income right there from one. Now, the higher amount of money that a small business is going to be charging you, the more involved it's going to be, right? I mean, to do the HR, it's not like it's like a 1 hour per month kind of like monthly client, right? That's pretty involved what he was doing. If you want to know how involved it was, if you want to know what that looks like, inside of our program, we generally break down pricing as well as how to structure your service so you know exactly how much time this stuff will take. Now, the second aspect of can you still make a full-time income is really going to be about your marketing channels. So are you going to be, a lot of people, what they do is like they try and rely strictly on referrals. Now, if you've had like a 40-year, accounting career, okay, cool. I mean, you might have some contacts. Usually if it's like 40 years, then a lot of your contacts are not necessarily going to own a business. So it's kind of like, it's like, at the end of the spectrum, it's hard. So like if you're like in your mid 20s, early 30s, you're probably not going to have a lot of people that have a business because you just don't have that many contacts. When you get closer to like, we'll say like 50, 55, 60, if you haven't been in the business space, a lot of your contacts are going to be people that are working in corporate. So it's really like people like in that middle of your career where it's like some people, like you might know someone that used to work with you that started their own business, maybe some friends from college now started a business, and then those kind of people can generally get away with referrals. But in a lot of cases, it's very hard for most people to get referrals, right? It's very hit or miss because sometimes you might have the right friend group or you might have zero friends at all. It just kind of depends. Or maybe you're a person that keeps to yourself and your family just don't really have that many connections outside of, maybe work. And you'd be surprised when people are in that same position, right? So a lot of people say, just get referrals. Like, no, that doesn't work for 90% of people. That didn't work for me. So you have to really start learning how to do a lot of marketing, right? Because if you can't get over the marketing hub, it doesn't really matter how much you can charge for your services. You have to be able to get over that marketing hub and that marketing kind of like, it's like a marketing hill you to kind of overcome. Now, number one, I always think about sphere of influence. If you notice about when we were talking about the referrals, it was about who do you know? And always thinking about this. So your job when you're starting any kind of professional services business, whether it's like law firm, whether it's bookkeeping, accounting firm, virtual assistant services, doesn't matter, financial advisor, your job is to get known. Now, you can get known a couple different ways. You can get known through social media. That's the way that I've chosen to get known. You can get known through like in-person networking events. Now, those can be effective depending on where you're located, but they can also be very hit or miss. The most simple space to go and get it is just really social media, because you can go and contact almost any person that is known on the planet, right? And when I say that's known, it's like you can't like contact like some super like James Bond villain guy, right, who's not going to be on social media. But you can reach out to Bill Gates on Twitter. He's probably not going to respond, but he's on there, right? So you have access to these people, and you can really handcraft your network of individuals that are either going to refer clients to you or that are going to become your clients directly. Now, both are a viable option. Depending on where you're starting, if you're an accountant and you're doing like similar services, the referral partners can be okay depending on what service you offer. Like if you're doing like, let's say for example, if you're doing maybe some tax planning or if you're doing some tax prep, you can utilize LinkedIn, maybe some financial advisors, because they're generally going to be dealing with high net worth individuals who might be a good fit for that, right? But if you're doing like monthly bookkeeping, in a lot of cases, financial advisors might be tough, right? But if you're doing like bookkeeping and cleanups, you might need to go with like maybe like a business consultant. For example, we can kind of break down what those look like in a different video where I have like a little bit more time. I'm kind of running out of time in this video. I like to keep this video under about 20 minutes or else YouTube doesn't show it to quite as many people. So that's going to be like really important there, your sphere of influence. And yeah, just like social media, right? Because like on social media, you can either message people, you can comment on people's content, you can make your own content, you can put your information out there. And it's just a very versatile tool to be able to go and get leads to come to you, and then you make a very significant amount of money. Step 3 is going to be about your plan to leave your job, okay? So this is actually something people don't really understand, because not everyone has the same amount of time and the same amount of energy. Maybe you have 3 kids. Maybe you have, $20K worth of debt that, you wrapped up, either not even talk about college debt, but just random stuff. Like maybe you like bought a boat that maybe you went underwater on like a boat or something like that. And that's going to determine what amount of money you need in order to be full time, right? Because let's say, for example, number one, let's say that you are already working 60 hours a week. Well, you have to be able to first manipulate your schedule to get clients. Like, when do you have free time? Do you have certain times that you could maybe go after clients, or you could take consultation calls? If the answer is no, then you have to kind of learn how to use your time outside of your work and outside of your job to go and get those clients, and really learn how to manipulate your schedule in order to do it. Really, to get to about the less time you have, the more you need to use services that are more scalable. So if you have like 1 hour a day, I'm doing tax planning services if I can offer it. Or I'm gonna only go after clients I can potentially need to clean up, right? Because I need to have a really big income spike that doesn't take a lot of time to do. If I'm trying to build up like the monthly bookkeeping clients, it's a little bit harder to do, because whenever you get a new bookkeeping client, you have to be able to allocate that time to the work. Now, depending on the size of the bookkeeping client, it's not gonna be a lot of time, but it still is time. And if your time's limited, then you have to kind of manipulate your business around the time you have. So that's number one, manipulating the time based on the client you have. And if you need help with doing any of this stuff, book a call. Let's see if we can help you out, because this is what we do. Like, literally, this is what we do. It's help people figure out, like, okay, I have like 3 hours a day that I can dedicate, but they're not 3 hours at the same time. I can do 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour on my lunch break, 1 hour in the evening, after my kids go to sleep. And it's like, okay, so how do we work the business within there to make sure we can hit our revenue goals? The next thing is just like really making sure you have savings in the business. So not just savings like on your personal finances, but also savings in your business, right? Because sometimes what happens is like the savings in your regular bank account look a certain way, but they're earmarked for that. But when you have it in your business, it just kind of gives you this thing that's like, it just reminds you that your business is strong and your business is stable. So even if you don't have that income coming from your job anymore, you can almost like just start siphoning off the money that you have from your business to your personal account to almost make it look like your business is like a job. Psychologically, that's what we're trying to do, right? So that's going to be really important as well. Also, really understanding, like, you have to have your family on board with this thing, okay? Now, the reason why is because, like, sometimes our family, I know this guy, he was in my school group, and he was reaching out to me about potentially getting some help, but he was like, his wife doesn't want him to invest in his business, so like he can't even get like business cards, because his wife's like, no, we have to put all the dollars towards this and all the dollars towards this. And she's like, why can't your business just like, make money? It's like, well, number one, he doesn't have any skills to make money. All he knows how to do is like accounting. He doesn't know how to do the marketing, doesn't know how to do this. Number two, it's like there was a significant amount of debt that he's in, so it's like it makes sense why she's saying that. But unfortunately, like that, she's not gonna be able to grow. Like, he's been trying to grow his business, I think, for, I'd like to say 2 years. He's been trying to grow his business. I think the most he's had is like 2 or 3 clients at one time that are like paying like $100 a month. It's just like, it just doesn't have enough skill to kind of get over that hump. In order to really kind of get towards the next goal. And some people might be like, well, why don't you just like teach them for free? It's like, well, we have all these YouTube videos. I asked him, I was like, dude, man, you've been following me for probably about like 3 or 4 months. Have you had a chance to watch anything? Oh no, man, I just haven't gotten around to doing that. Because he's working like 60 hours a week right now, so he doesn't really have a lot of energy. So it's kind of like, you can make a significant amount of income, but you really have to get your life in order first in order to really do that, so you can scale. Like, a business is not something that someone does when their life is in chaos. A business is something someone does when things are kind of like peaceful. The only exception is if you've been laid off from your job and you can't go and get another job. That's the only exception. But most people should have at least a part-time income when they're starting a business, so they can come like through power when they're coming to clients. They can't be like, oh, I need the money, or else I'm gonna die, For lack of better words. Not laughing at your situation, just laughing at the energy. Next thing is, you need to either have recurring revenue, or you need to have control over your growth. So if you have recurring revenue, it makes it safer to kind of leave your job, right? Because the money's coming in every single month. And remember, for bookkeeping clients, they're going to stay with you on average for about 7 years, if you're good. If you're not good, maybe a year, maybe 6 months. But if you are good, it'll be a long-term commitment. So if let's say that you get to like $5,000 a month, but you really need to have maybe your bills are $5,000 a month, right? and you're able to kind of like just put everything towards that, and you have a bit of savings. Okay, cool. Now you can do it because now you have more time to go and like focus on the business, right? But your bills are still met. Another thing is if you have control over the growth. So let's say you're not doing a recurring revenue service. Let's say you're doing other cleanups or tax planning. If you have a very proven system or process to go and get tax planning clients or even like cleanup projects on a consistent basis, and you know, if I do X, I get Y. If I do X, I get Y, right? If you have the control, then you can leave your job and then you can make it a full-time thing. Okay, so hopefully this video has given you a little bit more perspective into, can you actually make this business, you know, full-time income with this small accounting business? Astoundingly, the answer is yes. It's just, it can be a little bit tricky for most people, especially if this is the first business you ever ran or the first successful business you ran. Now, if you want some help with this business model, if you want some help being able to go and get to, you know, your goals, whether that's to be able to leave your job so you can spend more time with your family and like watch your children grow up, whether that's you want to go and get like more vacation days. I don't know exactly what it is for you, but what we're going to do is if you book a call with me, I'm going to get on the call, we're going to take a look at like, where are you at right now? Where do you want to go? And what does the path for you look like to do that? And if it makes sense, we're going to work on it together to go and reach your goals hand in hand, step by step. So if that's you, I'd love to see you on the call. If you're not quite ready, that's A-okay too. I will see you inside of the next video. Take it easy. Talk to you soon.